So today we see the very last shipment of iron ore coming to Port Talbot steelworks to feed the blast furnaces. Of course, now that number 5 blast furnace has ceased operations and number 4 will be ceasing at the end of September, there'll be no need for raw materials that have traditionally come through this harbour. So generally, to make about 3.5 million tonnes of steel, we've been importing 7 million tonnes of raw materials from across the world. So when people talk about the loss of virgin steel making, what they're talking about is also the loss of this transportation of this vast amount of materials from the other side of the world and all of the carbon emissions that consumes. So the transfer to electric arc furnace steel making, which will use UK-based scrap, not only better in terms of the process on site, in terms of its CO2 emissions, but also, of course, transporting materials around the world like we see today. Having said that, it's a sad day. This harbour and the jetty here has been operating for many decades, and I'm delighted Rachel Hammond's production specialist here has joined me here on the harbour today. Rachel, sad day, not quite the end of the harbour, but a difficult day.
Yeah, certainly, Tim, and obviously welcome to the harbour. It is a very emotional day, not just for the Tata employees, for the shift teams as well, and of course our contracting partners. They're key to our operation. Without them, we couldn't complete what we do day in, day out. And as you mentioned, this harbour has been in operation since the early 70s. So in that time, we've seen circa 5,000 vessels coming in, and about 400 million tonnes of raw materials we've discharged over those period of time. So yeah, a very emotional day.
It is a hell of an operation here, and we look at the ship behind us and it looks enormous from here, but you said this is quite a small one.
Yeah, certainly. So this is the smallest vessel that we bring in. This is a Handymax. This is about 55,000 tonnes of iron ore pellets. We brought this from the US. And then we've got 2 coke vessels then right at the end of August. One then is a 25,000 tonne on a similar size vessel, a Handymax from Chile, and our very last vessel then of blast furnace coke from Japan is on a Panamax, and that's 44,000 tonnes.
And of course this is only part of the harbour operations in general. People may see it from Aberavon Beach, see the unloaders, see the ships in. Tell us a bit about what happens here and what happens to the materials then.
So obviously we've got iron ore pellets on this one now, Tim, so this will be discharged over 801, the main conveyor, and then it's taken a series of conveyor belts then over to 808 stacker. So the longevity, again, 808 stacker is the last stacker to be used today, 808, and then the 2 coke ships then will be sent over 804 and 806 stacker respectively. So not just the last iron ore pellet vessel, but certainly the last time you'll use 808 stacker. They all go into the primary yards then, and then we'll have the bucket wheel reclaimer then to reclaim them over the screening process, and then they'll be charged then to the blast furnaces.
That's right, and with the blast furnaces ceasing operations, no more need for iron ore, no more need for the coal or the coke that supplies it. Now come those last shipments at the end of August, what happens to the equipment here then?
So obviously there's a cessation process at the end of the operation, and the team have been working tirelessly over the last number of weeks and months to make sure there's a detailed plan in place to ultimately make the area safe, make the plant safe, because there's quite an amount of equipment here to make safe. So yeah, there's a lot of detailed plan gone into that. Yeah,
there is a lot of equipment here, and it's kind of high voltage electricity, I expect, to power those big motors, and maybe we'll have a look at those a bit later on. But also you'll be starting to decommission the conveyor belts, and that's a job in itself, isn't it?
Absolutely, and it's not a mean feat. I mean, in terms of the area, the size of the area that the team control, I mean, obviously that the shift teams operate the day-to-day operations. But in terms of the day support team, is a very small team, and although they've been working tirelessly to get those details in place for the cessation, we still got our day-to-day job to do as well. So it is a huge amount of work that's coming at us.
Yeah, and what people may not realise is that the harbour here, the main harbour, doesn't belong to us. The equipment on it belongs to us. ABP are talking about maybe a different sort of future for the harbour. What might that look like?
Well, obviously we've seen some of the press and some of the releases and the website, and obviously the free port that ABP now got, which is really good for the local community. It's just unfortunate that obviously we are stopping operations slightly earlier than we thought, and the investment that ABP are bringing into the future is going to be huge, and it's just that stopgap, unfortunately, that people are not going to see it, and it's not going to come quick enough. But the investment into the area is absolutely key, especially for the Port Talbot community as well.
Yeah, and most people watching this will never get the opportunity to come to a harbour like this. I've been here a few times. I've been up to the top at night, and I understand those guys operate this in in fairly big winds as well, and they've been doing that for like 50 odd years. You know, what would you say to all the people who have worked here and currently worked here that have kept the steel industry in the UK alive through this very port?
Absolutely commendable. I mean, the team, the shift teams, they're resilient. It is a very, very dynamic operation. You know, today is a beautiful sunny day, but we've got our own challenges here. We've got the second biggest tidal range in the UK in South Wales. The first biggest tide range is over in Canada. So the tidal range will swing by 8 metres twice a day, and that brings its own challenges. So yeah, I mean, they are absolutely resilient team, very dynamic, and there is nothing that beats this.
So listen, Rachel, thanks very much for bringing us down. They're taking time out to talk to us about the harbour, a bit about its history and a bit about its people. And of course, come the end of August, the harbour will be the first of the next tranche of asset closures on the Port Talbot site. You know, the harbour will bring in the iron ore and the coke, feed the blast furnaces, and then following that you've got to clear the ore yards of the materials and the last of the materials that will be used, and then the sinter plant which feeds the blast furnace, then of course blast furnace 5, then primary steel making, and then secondary steel making. So there's still a lot of closures to happen on the site, all in the name of a more sustainable future, a greener future, a site that will produce 5 million tonnes less CO2 every year, but still a massive change to the operational footprint of the site, and fair credit to all of those who have worked in and around the harbour for all of those years, and I'm sure those memories will last very long with people. Rachel, thanks again for bringing us down. Good luck with the last offloading, and good luck with the decommissioning and the making safe for that, because I know there's a lot of work to do, but thanks very much again.
Thanks, Tim.